Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be talking about the best ultimate bunny builds in the game. This is going to have a perfect balance between a bossing build and a farming build. As you can see on screen, I'm killing the hard mode devourer, and I managed to get this kill in 18 seconds. As far as I know, that is the fastest anyone's killed a devourer on bunny. In my last video, I was very focused on my farming builds and making that the best it could be, but because of the way catalysts work, when you catalyze one build, some other builds tend to fall to the wayside, so I knew I needed to make some adjustments. And that's how I came up with this build, which I believe is currently the overall best, because without electrocute, it has 800k crit pulses on the farming builds, and 1.74 million pulse crits on the boss build. But quickly, if you guys find this video helpful, or enjoy this video, make sure to drop that like and a sub. I'll be making a lot more First Descendant content in the future. I was also able to kill the Obstructor because I didn't want to just have a Devourer clip. And this guy has a lot of health when there's 4 people, and that's obviously the only way to fight him. But I managed to kill him in about 3 minutes, and I did 43 million damage in that time. Now I just want to show you guys the damage on a regular mob. The pulses, as I said before, 1.74 mil, and if the electrocute also crits, that's another like 380, I think, or 385. So that comes out to about 2,125,000 per crit on the pulses. And there is going to be a way that you can get these a lot faster, but now we're just going to look at the modules. So here are the modules for the build. The 2 most important pieces of this build are high voltage, which is an ultimate bunny exclusive, and long distance maneuvering. That is going to allow us to get maximum grapple range, which there is a tech to it that will allow us to get a lot more damage. Next up we have Agony. This is going to give us a little bit more MP and defense. We don't have a lot of defense in this build. We're fairly squishy. Then we have Emergency Measures. This is going to give us more crit chance and damage. We're really speccing into crit on this build. We then have Front Lines for more crit damage and crit rate. Then we have Skill Simplification. This works very well with our external components, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but it ups our skill power modifier by a lot. We then have Focus on Electric. This is going to give us a lot more electric skill power. It's also the only cooldown we use on the build because high voltage reduces the cooldown of lightning emission, and this will bring us down to 20.7, so pretty much 100% uptime. We then have even more crit damage. Next up we have Dangerous Ambush, and there's another YouTuber, I think his name is Zuai. I might be butchering that pronunciation and I'm sorry for that, but his bossing build helped me see that there was a couple faults in my original one, so I changed some things around and I think it made it an overall improved version of both builds. We then have Skill Expansion, everyone knows what that is. Then we have HP Amplification. This is where we get our HP from. It's not maxed out, I didn't have the goal to do it, I just wanted to get this video out. Ideally you would increase high voltage and get that extra spot. And then lastly we have Skill Insight. But that's pretty much the builds. Now we are going to look at the reactors. This is my reactor. Ideally for the substats you'd want crit hit rate and crit damage, but you definitely want a Thunder Cage mounting and one that has electric skill power boost and singular skill power boost. For the external components, we are using the Supernova full set, and one of the good things about this build particularly is that we have a lot of skill power modifier, and the 4-piece set bonus gives us a lot of damage based on our skill power modifier, and that's going to help us out a lot with the damage. Just make sure for the substat of the sensor, you guys try to find an MP recovery in combat, otherwise you're essentially going to have no way of running during the boss fight. We then are using a Thunder Cage. Mine is not optimized. It has 453k DPS. You can make this much better, but it's really not necessary for some of the boss fights because we're not going to be shooting that much. The only time you might need this is if you're fighting something that's very resistant to electric and you need to shoot at it, and in that case I have fire enhancement on this. You would just take that out and you can change it to weak point, or you can also put on whatever element the boss is weak to and then just spec into that, and that way you're going to be getting a lot of damage that way against bosses. But a lot of the time we're not even shooting at bosses, we're just doing the grapple mechanic and trying to get as much damage that way. But that pretty much concludes the bossing build, and now I'm going to talk about that grapple mechanic and exactly how you're going to do it. So you do want to get a max range grapple, and then if you're on PC you're just going to hold your A or D key, and you don't want to move forward at all during this. You don't want to be holding W, and then you're just going to move your camera around to follow the grapple, and you'll see that you kind of follow it the whole way around and stay on the grapple for much longer than you would normally. If you're on a controller, you're just going to hold left or right on the analog stick. Again, you don't want to move forward, and just follow the grapple. If you don't follow the grapple, it'll break off a lot earlier than you'd like it to, and you're going to be missing out on a lot of damage that way. So just make sure you guys get this tech down. It's very, very important for maximizing your damage, because on these wide swings, you get a lot more damage because you're moving faster. And with Bunny, the faster you move, the more her lightning emission procs. So you definitely get this tech down. But next I'm going to be talking about the damage of our farming build. So as you can see, it's close to 800k crits on each pulse. And if you add the electrocute to it, we're talking about 1,000,000 damage, if that crits as well, per pulse. So that is a lot, and now we're just going to be looking at the modules. So we are using bionic fuel, and again we are using long distance maneuvering. It just seems to be the best grappling module that you can use, especially for Bunny. It is very, very good. We then have MP conversion. This is going to be our cooldown for the build. We have reduced max MP, but we don't use MP. So then we have skill insight. This is going to give us even more crit rate. Front lines, again, more crit. Crit is very important on these builds. And then we have HP collector. This is going to be our main sustain for the build. We then have focus on electric skill power, and this rounds out our skill cooldown to give us 100% uptime. We then have even more crit damage, and then we move on to skill extension, and again, skill simplification. We're not using MP, so this works even better on this build. Then we have stim accelerant. This is going to give us 234% more max HP, reduces our MP, but again, like I said, we're not using it. Then for the last one, we have electronic syncytium, and this is going to give us crit hit resistance and electric skill power. I don't have it maxed out because I'm not sure if I want that in there, but there is also the option that you can take that out and put in emergency measures. Mine's maxed out, so I don't have enough space for it, so I'm probably just going to rock with the other one and just get that little bit of extra electric damage, and who knows, maybe crit hit resistance will be decent. Haven't tested it much, but that concludes the modules of the build. It is important to note as well that I changed my external components for the farming build. We don't need the Supernova set, it is not necessary, so we spec into all defense and HP. So if you can get all HP components, that is good. Defense is also decent. And for your auxiliary power, just make sure you get a substat of max HP. And on the fridge, just make sure you get a substat of defense, and you're pretty much just good. We are also using the Thunder Cage, and that concludes the farming build. So that's pretty much it for me today. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop that like, but that's it for me. So I'll see you next time.